Hey, what's up YouTube? So today I'm gonna go over this new build. I didn't really make this build. I just pretty much copied and looked up like lightning arrow builds, and I pretty much just do what everyone should do when they want to play a build. And they can't really find a guide about it, which is go on PoE Ninja, look at a bunch of people who play that skill and look at the differences between each of the builds. But today I'm gonna present this character, which is already almost 96. It's pretty fast. And it's pretty fun to play actually, besides one thing, which is the crashes you experience in the 5 ways. I did buy like 50x worth of sets, so I'll be running that all tomorrow. But hopefully I'll be level 100 by tomorrow, and then we can go straight into the Deadeye Aura Stacker and find out what skill we will be doing. Kind of leaning towards doing a Power Siphon guy, because everyone always mentions it, and I kind of want to show you how it's going to be really bad. But hopefully it might surprise me and not be bad. But for this video, I wanted to go over the Lightning Arrow 5-way hoster. This character obviously is not really meant for mapping. It has 2.5k HP. And yeah, I mean, it has 75 all res. It has 50% evasion, 40% dodge, 10% spell dodge. It doesn't have phase aggro. And yeah, I mean, this character is meant to do one thing, and it's to carry 5 ways. Provide people around like 3 to 4% XP per map at level 99, or per set, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, most of the gear is all unique. So I think every single piece is a unique gear except the bow. And there is actually a bow replacement instead of using this rare bow that you could use. And I did find that carrying 5 ways was definitely doable at this gear level, and it's probably good enough for you to charge any price. Like, so most people will not be able to beat the setup who currently offer carry services on 5-way rotations, and if they do, then they are probably spending a lot more money on the gear. And I'll show you like what pieces you could possibly upgrade if you wanted to make your character as good as possible to for 5 ways. So let's get straight into the gear overview. I'll provide the pop and everything as usual, so you can copy the gear and look at the tree for what I'm doing. So let's get straight into it. So for the gear overview, every single piece of gear is unique. I really like unique builds in general because it's easy to buy the stuff for, right? It's a lot harder to buy rares when you have to look for like specific stats. So for the helm, we have fractal dots. Fractal dots, you get the enchant for barrage via an additional projectile. Now this build uses like two main skills, right? You have lightning arrow and you have barrage. The ideal way that you would do the 5-way is that you only click lightning arrow and you rarely ever barrage. Your lightning arrow becomes so strong from all of the headhunter stacks that it will just naturally kill off all the generals in the 5-way rotation. So we have this with barrage, so make sure to get a good crit multi-roll. That's the main thing to look for. Also gives you a small amount of life and dex, so this helm is pretty much unbeatable for pure damage. And we run Herald of Ice, Enlighten, Precision, and Hatred in the helm. And Enlighten is meant to make it so that we can run all of the auras. Without the Enlighten, I think we're only at 61 mana, which makes it a little more sketchy to cast the auras. With Enlighten, we have 138. I tried using a level 4 Enlighten, but it actually caused me to have too much int requirements, because my character is quite dumb. It only has 80 int. Now, Solstice Vigil, make sure to blast it up to 16. Try to get a high percent damage roll at 40%. And nothing else really matters. I guess you could technically use Temp Chain's Blasphemy if you really wanted to, but I don't really see the point of it. So Solstice Vigil means that every time we kill a rare, it like doubles the duration of our headhunter buff. So that's how we can stack our headhunter buffs for longer. So for the Penance Brand guy, I would average around like 18 to 19 headhunter buffs max in the 5-way. While for this build, I could get up to like 30, 32 when doing a 5-way. And it's all because of Solstice Vigil. So like the reason why this build is so much better than the Penance Brand or Stacker for the 5-ways is because of the Solstice Vigil and the 3 Inspired Learnings, and the fact that Lightning Arrow is just an insane skill for clear. So for the bow, we have two options. We can use this thing called an Arborix. This thing is pretty much like a +2 arrow bow that's around like 400 fizz DPS. Or you can use, but the problem with this bow is that the attack speed is kind of slow, and when you have headhunter buffs, you kind of want a fast attack speed. So I use an Imperial bow. You can also use a Thicket bow. So the main 3 stats you should search for is T2 or T1 flat cold damage. Cold damage is dex per 10 dex, and then 2 additional arrows. Technically, you can get better bow if you have like double unveil with ace sling with like pen and attack speed, and then you craft on like another mod or something, but that runs you around like 250x. So I bought this bow relatively cheap. It's only like 35x, so you can see that. So these are the main mods you're looking for. And where's the cold damage? Well, if you look at these ones that are up right now, I mean, I obviously bought this one for a lot cheaper. You can see these ones take gets like this one is P2. So my bow is actually pretty cheap for what I bought it for. I think right now there's like less bows up, but yeah, during like the daytime, you don't want a Mariketh bow. You pretty much just want an Imperial bow and thicket bow if possible. So, but this bow is fine. I did a few runs with this one and it was pretty good too, but obviously I think when you put it into the pop, I don't know if I have the pop still saved, but it's around like a 28% DPS gain to switch to Imperial or thicket bow. So the 2 tamings we have, make sure to have like high resist rolls when you buy it, because without the tamings resist roll, you can see that we would be slightly undercapped. And make sure it has catalyst of elemental catalyst, so I have 20% on each. And these rings are just used because it gives us a lot of resist and it's a lot of elemental damage, which makes it pretty much unbeatable. So then we have the chest Hyri's Ire. This one we just need 6 linked and nothing else really matters that much. Try to get a good cold damage roll and dex roll. And if possible, you can try to get a +2 proj, but you can see I don't have it, so it doesn't really matter too much. This will probably run you around like 4 exalts or so. The gloves, we have Shadows and Dust, and this is particularly of note because Rampage is insane. During a 5-way, you're pretty much killing mobs non-stop, so you'll reach like 1,000 stacks pretty fast. And it'll just be up the whole time, and Rampage is pretty much unbeatable. So this one, you want to get LE Weakness Curse on hit. And the problem with this is it's like pretty expensive and it's pretty rare. However, like this guy wants 1 mirror for it, but come on, that's a joke. So you can probably find one for like, I think probably like 10x. There's not really one that exists at the moment, so you could probably try to corrupt it yourself. You can see that if you get rid of all of these mods right here and you make it not corrupted, these gloves are actually insanely cheap. So they're like couple chaos. So if you actually wanted to even make money with this method, you could just buy them up in bulk and corrupt them, and you'll probably get LE weakness. I think it's like 1 in 60 or 65 or something. So it should only cost like 1 exalt worth of Shadows and Dust, but it is annoying buying like 60 pairs of gloves, right? But it's probably better than paying like 15 exalts. Now, this pair of boots, we use Bubonic Trail, and I think we use them. I was thinking like, why don't people use like Elevated Onslaught and Tailwind boots? Well, I guess the Deadeye gets Tailwind by itself, so you don't really need it. And then like Onslaught and Elusive doesn't really matter that much because we have capped Moose Feed from Headhunter buff. So I saw people use this, so I just use this enchant for attack and cast speed if you killed recently. Another good one could be Moose Speed if you haven't been hit recently. So this pair of boots are pretty notable because we can use like more jewels for damage. You can get like, so this is like the ideal jewel you want. You want cold damage with bow attacks, lightning damage with bow attacks, multi and cold damage to attacks. So you can see you kind of want something like this, right? Multi, cold damage, and lightning damage, and another one like this. I couldn't buy them because I pretty much just went for pretty cheap stuff in the beginning just to see if the character will work out. Now I have to use this jewel here because I didn't have enough int. Oh, so you see if I take it out, I don't have enough int. But if you do have enough int from like your cluster jewels, so you can set some int from cluster jewels or something, or I don't even know where this person gets the rest of his int. But if you have enough int, then you should get 2 of these jewels. But for the flasks, we have Alchemist, Quicksilver, Adrenaline, Aziri's Promise, Bottle Faith, Cinder Swallow Urn, and Dying Sun. Don't really need a life flask because we just fully leech back our life. Now for the tree is so much simpler, right? Every time I look at an aura stacker, the tree is just a mess, right? Because there's so many cluster jewels, but this tree, it's pretty nice and simple. So the name of the game with this tree, oh, you don't want this node here. I just took it as a troll. So you pretty much, okay, so I need another medium cluster jewel here because I'm not level 100. Level 100 tree would have you take another medium cluster. So the name of the game with this tree is to get 3 Inspire Learnings activated. So we have 1 Inspire Learning here, 1 Inspire Learning here, and 1 Inspire Learning here. And in order to activate the Inspire Learning, you have to have 4 notables allocated in the radius. So this one you have 1, 2, 3, 4. This one here, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess all of these notables are good, so we end up taking it all. And then we have this Inspire Learning here, which gets activated with 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's pretty much the general gist of it. It's an Inspire Learning Headhunter build in the very end. And then you take some efficient nodes, like the pen nodes right here, pen node right here, and then pen node right here. And then you have the bow nodes right here for crit and crit multi. And then here we have the Lion's Eye Fall Jewel, which converts a melee weapon type to bow modifier. So it allows us to get this good claw nodes. These claw nodes gives us a lot of crit chance and multi, and I think it also gives us some leech, life leech, and mana leech. So we have a good chunk of life, attack damage leech, and mana leech with these nodes and the claw nodes. And then we take acrobatics just from some little, because acrobatics is a really point efficient defensive node, so we take it. We fill it out with some life nodes, and then this helps us convert our damage over to cold, or fizz to cold. So we end up doing like, let's see what the split is for the damage. Most of our damage is actually cold damage. It's actually kind of weird how it works. This lightning arrow is a skill that you'd think would be lightning, but because of the supports we run and the items we run and the auras we run and heralds, we end up doing mostly cold damage. Now, you might be wondering why lightning arrow. Lightning arrow turns out to be a god tier skill in 5 ways because it hits up to 3 additional enemies near the target. So basically, if there's a lot of mobs, lightning arrow has absolutely insane clear. So pretty much the best clear skill you could possibly imagine. So we do have one large cluster jewel here that we use, which is Disorienting Display Prismatic Heart Sadist. So the main portion of it is Prismatic Heart and Sadist. Prismatic Heart is important because we get a lot of resist so that we can get to 75 res easily. And a Sadist is something that's really good because of the tamings. We're constantly chilling, shocking, igniting enemies, so it's like 60% damage. And then the medium clusters here, we have Pressure Points, which gives us 5% double damage and crit chance, and then Quick Getaway. So there's 2 options here. Some people use Precise Commander, which gives you like 30% crit and 10 multi. But this jewel here, Precise Commander and Pressure Points, is like 6 exalts. But in this jewel here that I'm using, Pressure Points and Quick Getaway is only like 100 chaos to 1x. And it also gives us move speed. And move speed is always king when doing 5 ways. The faster you move around in a circle, the faster you can kill the rare mobs. So I would recommend this cluster. For a more budget option, then you would have this cluster here, the same thing. And then for the jewel here, I have a Watcher's Eye. I think Flat Cold is really good, and so is Cold Pen, and some attack damage, precision, and multi-precision. And cold damage Hatred. I don't think Hatred crit is that good because we have a lot. We'll get crit capped really easily with Headhunter. Now in the end, this build is meant for doing 5 ways. You can do some maps. You could easily do like a Minotaur or Hydra. And it'll be fine. If you get a lot of rare buffs, you could probably kill it really fast. I'll probably showcase like a video of a map or so. And yeah, and once you fill out this cluster, when you get the extra points for 100, you'll fill it out with another one of these crit clusters. And that's pretty much the tree. Hopefully you understand the rationale behind everything. And the Ascendancy, when you level it up, you want to take Tailwind first, because Tailwind is really good for leveling, and Gale Force is actually pretty strong. Then you take this, Riot Chit, which chains +1 times, so you have Fork and Chain. And then you also get more Chain when it collides with the terrain, and this is Endless Munitions, gives you 2 additional projectiles, which is actually really OP for all bow skills, especially Barrage, and then more projectile speed, projectile damage, and Far Shot. Now, Far Shot means that when you attack the bosses in the Legion, you should stand a little further away, and you can see me do it in the video, so you don't want to be point blank right next to the mob, because you'll literally do like, I think it's like 40% less damage or something, dealing up to 60% more damage. So if you're at max range, you actually deal 60% more damage, and Far Shot makes it so your barrage is really tight instead of spread out like usual. But that's basically the general gist of the tree. It's a very, very like affordable build actually, as long as you have the Headhunter. I know a Headhunter is a lot to ask for a lot of people. But if you just invest in this build and do like a few days of 5-way carries, you can easily make back a headhunter in like less than a day. And I'll show you the calculations behind the 5-way profit. And I also have a little disclaimer about the 5-way, because even though on paper the money is really good, there is something to keep in mind that you should be warned about in case you invest too much into it and experience what I experience sometimes. So now I want to talk about like the point of this character, right? Like, why does someone want to make a character to do 5-ways? So what 5-ways are you do these emblems, and they're called 5-ways. You put in 5 emblems at a time. So what happens is you pretty much just put them in, and then you have someone called Resetter who runs in and out of the zone over and over again until so they just go in and out of the circle to reset it, which means that they'll spawn the mobs again. Now you need to find someone who knows how to actually reset, because if the person does not know how to reset, then there won't be enough mobs who spawn, and then if they mess it up, then the run will kind of be bricked in a weird sense. So I just want to go over some numbers about how profitable it actually is, right? So everyone talks about how many runs you do. So you can see everyone here who sells it for around like, let's see where someone is doing it at. So this guy is selling it for 3x for 5 runs. So what this means, and they sell 2.5x for the resetter. So what this means is 5 runs is 5 emblems. So 5 sets of the emblems. So you do it 5 times. So you charge 3x for 4 people. So this comes out to 12x, and this is a payment you'll generally collect. You'll try to collect this at the beginning of the run so that they can't scam you. And then you charge a little less for the resetter. Some people charge 2.5, some people charge 2x. So I chose 2x as a more lenient value. And this person pays less because they have to run in and out of the middle to try to constantly reset it. So they only pay 2x. So there's 3 times 4 is 12x, and then the guy plays 2x. So you get 14x total for every run. Now, of course, the runs aren't free. So each set costs around like 1.4-ish to 1.5-ish. So I made it 7x. So total profit per 5 runs is 7x, right? And each run takes like 5 minutes and 15 seconds, which means you can do around 10 runs per hour. So that means your total profit after counting buying the sets is 14 exalts. Now this number alone right here, 14 exalts, is way more than you can get doing anything else in the game. Now 14 exalts is insane exalts per hour. Like there's nothing that's even comparable. And if you want it to be even more profitable, you would probably try to sell your runs and say you'll do 10 at a time. If you have a good group and a good resetter, you eliminate any downtime of having to use the TFT Discord to find more people. So 14 exalts is the baseline profit per hour you can make. Now, this doesn't include the exalts you'll get in Timeless Jewels. You do get a lot of glorious vanities and stuff to sell. So I'll show you my unique tab. So I have a bunch of these right here. So these are worth around like 25 chaos, and then there's a bunch of these ones. It doesn't mean you have to sell all of them, but that should get counted in the profit, because eventually if you want to sell it in bulk on TFT, you could probably do it at a cheap rate just for people who want to put it in to see if there's any good jewels. And you might also get lucky and find a glorious vanity that's worth a lot of money, right? And then there's also additional profit that includes leveling awakened gems. So you can see here, I have leveled up a bunch of awakened gems and I corrupted it. Now, generally the profit margin, I think, is, let's see. So this is how you can actually see what gem you should be leveling. So you go look at, where is it? So at this point in the league, it's a little less profitable. So you want to go look at gems that are level 1 and awakened, right? So awakened gems level 1 versus level 6, right? So you can see one, like say you want to level control destruction, which is 3x, or awakened LA damage. So you take a look at what that is, and then you look at level 5. So awakened control destruction is 4.5. So if you just level up this gem to 1 to 5, you gain 1.5x. And I think it levels up in a few runs. I'm not really sure exactly how many. So this one is 4x or 4.5. So around average, I think, would probably be around 1.5x. So I don't know how you can actually look at it. So you can maybe make a mental note of which ones you want to do. So like awakened multi-strike is 22, 29. Cast on crit is 1. So like the better ones, I think, are the ones that have like a certain like threshold that happens when it hits 5. You can see awakened cast on crit is like 17.5, 17.9. So this is like a 2.4x profit. So it does seem like the more expensive the gem is, and the bigger and if it has like something good at level 5, like a level 5 for this one, it gains an extra projectile, I think. So this one is like a 3x profit almost, but that requires you having a huge bankroll to actually buy the gems. So if you have a lot of money and you can afford buying some of the better gems that have something good at level 5, then you could make a lot of money. Like this one's only 1.5. So I think like Control Destruction or something is pretty good. Wet is pretty good. Probably like Awaken Lightning damage is pretty good because it gives you an extra level. So if you just look through a PoE Ninja, find the ones that give a lot of that has a really good profit margin between level 1 and 5, and figure out which one you want to level up, then it's really important. And yeah, overall, this is a guarantee money making meta. You don't need to worry about whether you hit the corruption or not. And you just level up the gems. So I didn't include this in. So you maybe can say, well, this is a 1x per hour or something. So overall, you make around like 16x per hour. And right now, currently in the state of the game, there's nothing that even comes close to 16x per hour. If you just do this for a day, playing like 10 hours or 12 hours a day, you can easily farm a headhunter or make back the money from a headhunter. So if you can rent a headhunter for someone and run this build for a day or so, because the rest of this gear is honestly not that expensive. You don't need this bow. You can use the bow that someone's trying to buy from me right now for 4x. You can use this helm, which is like 40c, this Solstice Vigil, which is like a couple chaos, these rings, which are like 30 to 40 chaos. This thing's 4x. This thing is like 1x. I bought another 1x item, and then it's like 1 chaos without the corruption. All in all, the gear is really cheap. This bottle faith stuff is pretty expensive, but overall, I think the gear comes down to be like 40 to 50x minus the headhunter. I know it's minus the headhunter, but everything else, if you have a friend who can lend you a headhunter and you want to farm it really fast, I highly recommend this method. And yeah, it's pretty fast. The actual entry level of the gear is pretty low, minus the headhunter, of course. There needs to be a headhunter renting service, right? So maybe I can start one. I can rent out my headhunter for like a day or so. You pay me like a certain amount, like a rental car service, right? Because it's like taking out a mortgage for a headhunter for your future. Because that's actually the most like game breaking item, right? If you have the headhunter for this method, then you can unlock so much more profit. But I hope like showing this to you really illustrates how much profit it actually is. And now I want to get into this one thing that I want to talk about, which is crashes. So now I just want to show you a quick run. Like this is me on stream, and this is like a little further into the stream, right? So right now, I don't know what happened to the computer. I do have to put a disclaimer that this method might break your graphics card or computer or something. I don't really know. But usually it's not like this. Usually it's pretty smooth. I'll post a smooth run right after this, just so you can see what it actually looks like when it's not lagging out of its mind. So this is what it looks like. I don't know why this is so bad, but this more or less illustrates the fact that you can actually crash and lose the instance. It happens very often. I don't know how often it is, but it is important to keep in mind that this is something that will happen. Now you might be wondering, how does this affect my bottom line, right? So if you look at it right here, your bottom line is that even you pretty much double the amount of money. So even if every single run crashes, which is like kind of unlikely, I've never had that happen, you will still come out on top. So it is kind of annoying because you have to remember who's in your party and re-invite them, and it might be a little bit of an issue. So make sure to keep a notepad of who joins your party so you can re-invite them if you do crash or if someone else crashes. So, but you can see that even if you break every single run, like every single map crashes once, then you'll still break even. But some things you can do to make it smoother is to ask everyone to turn off their MTX, maybe clear your cache. Just make sure you don't crash. I don't really know what you can do about it, but it is pretty frustrating. So if you find yourself crashing a lot, maybe this method isn't going to be for you. And yeah, but this character is honestly pretty fun to play in maps. I tried it out a little bit in Harbinger Valdos, so you could probably try to farm some Valdos Harbinger with it. Just get the headhunter bust from Valdos, and it actually clears it remarkably fast. Probably just as fast as my Aura Stacker. And yeah, character is pretty strong, pretty fun to play. It's a generic bow build, a little squishy, and it really revolves around getting the buffs and stacking them up. But it is king for 5 ways, by far the best XP per hour you could possibly do for anyone, and it's the fastest 5-way character in the game, in my opinion, and from what other people have told me. And This build is pretty cookie cutter. I don't really think there's any many changes you can do to it because of the inspired learnings being extremely build limiting, and you pretty much just take all the efficient damage nodes, take the cluster jewels, and yeah, pretty fun build nonetheless. Really remarkable how fast it levels. I will be 100 probably tomorrow or the next day, day after tomorrow, and then I'll try to do a Deadeye, maybe a Wander or a Stacker. I'll see what I can pull off, but it should be fun. So yeah, but anyhow, I'm gonna play a clip of the 5-way just to show you what an actual run really looks like when it doesn't crash, and you can really see how much superior this character is to the Aura Stacker when I did the 5-ways. So I just wanted to showcase this build real fast, do an Inscribed Ultimatum, because theoretically it should be insane in Inscribed Ultimatums. And I can finally see if GGG has fixed the lag with the game build, and it seems like it's looking pretty good, right? Game is looking pretty smooth, pretty buttery smooth, and yeah. I wonder what happened to my computer in the patch, but you can see it's a complete joke doing it on this character. Whoa, I actually almost died. Yeah, looking pretty strong.
Fair enough.
So that's an Inscribed Ultimatum for everyone, deathless. But yeah, I need to fix the computer, but let that be a warning. Something GGG does not know what they're doing with the performance in this game, and I just wanted to demonstrate it. I actually tried it earlier, but you can see it should be theoretically pretty good in Inscribed Ultimatums once you get all the buffs up. You know, kill everything, make sure to have your flask up and chaos res. I almost died to chaos res, chaos damage immediately. But let's go straight into the 5-way.
I'm alone, I'm a broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go, I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired with yesterday. Fada, fada. Where my demons dwell, my own little nightmare, I call it hell. Oh well, it's time to get back up, climbing and climbing. I'm done with this ride, is what I tell myself, so I could feel something else. Yeah, I guess I had my bad days, but it doesn't mean I lost my styling. Where were you when my heart was on the ground? I thought time would prove that you would stick around. I guess time stands down, a king without his crown. Now I'm breaking and you're faking, girl. You never made a sound. Oh, wait, I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired with yesterday. Fada, fada.
So I hope that everyone enjoyed the clip of the 5-way. You should easily be able to see that this character is far superior to the Aura Stacker or any other character. So if you see someone, if you're trying to buy a 5-way rotation and you see someone that's advertising that they're not playing Lightning Arrow, probably steer clear. I think, what's it called? KB could be good, someone told me, but you probably need insane gear. I don't know how good most of these people's gears are. But if you look at everyone is playing Lightning Arrow. Some people play Tornado Shot. I don't know how good Tornado Shot is. So if someone has 2 Inspired Learnings, their build is probably a little scuffed. So look for Lightning Arrow 3 Inspired build. Everyone is running it. And hopefully this shows you what this build actually is. And if you want to build it, it's actually really cheap minus the Headhunter. So if you have a friend who can let you borrow it, just tell them, I'll pay you back in 1 day. I'll give it back in 1 day. And you can easily farm it in 1 day. Although you do need the capital to buy the set, so that's something to keep in mind. But I hope that everyone enjoyed the build, guys. So check out the POB. Come by my stream. Ask me any questions if you have about the build or Aura Stacker. And I stream every day on Twitch, so feel free to ask me questions there or join my Discord to ask questions. I have a question section that I always respond to. And yeah, this build has been a blast to play. Can't wait to get 100 with it and try out a Deadeye Aura Stacker. But the profit margin is insane, and I hope that everyone else can try it out. But thanks for watching, everyone, and have a good day. And I hope you find more meters and exalts than I do.